Hello, good morning, good evening, good day, good afternoon, and aloha. Welcome back to another episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review. I am your host, Luis Jimenez. That is my co-host, Mr. Michael Mataluni. This is hopefully your new and or existing home for credible news, reviews, and commentary on everything UAPs and UFOs, and discussions, and free thought, and fun. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you guys are liking, sharing, subscribing to the channel. Before we get started, I want to say thank you to my dad and our sponsor, BlueMarlinChronicles.com, purveyors of the world's finest fishing tackle since 1995. Also want to say thank you to DOS Tapes. They provide all of the tunes that you hear on the show every time. They are the official band of the Unidentified Celebrity Review. With that said, Michael Mataluni, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic, and I just want to make sure everybody out there knows, just take a deep breath. Rather is okay. He's in South Carolina. He's hanging out with some dudes from college. He's having beers on the beach. I promise you, he's okay.
Yep. Yeah, he's having a good time. He's getting some well-deserved time off.
Yes.
I do miss him, though.
I know.
Right?
I know.
The show feels naked without him a little bit.
It does. It does. And because his intros are so good, and he puts so much time and effort and energy
really
into just, bringing us some incredible, not only breaking information and scientific news, but just, man, he just got a cute little face. You just want to squeeze a little cheek.
Smile that it just doesn't quit. It doesn't quit. Thank you guys so much for being here. Kronos, Jedi Camper, Alien Girl, Engaging the Phenomenon. Where's Jay? Jay's backstage. He's here. We're going to be spending the first hour with Jay, asking him all sorts of questions about his channel, his philosophies, what he wants to do with this topic, all sorts of fun stuff. And of course, his podcast, his amazing podcast where he has insanely wonderful interviews. It's one of the first places I go when I want to go listen to some UAP podcasts, man. He's been doing it for a while and he's really good at it. We got Carl Vibe in the house. What is shaking? Joshua Shell, Bricktop. All right, let's do this, you guys. I'm so happy you're here. Share the channel. Let's get going. Michael, would you like to
I would
introduce our guest?
Love to. We've got Jay joining us today from Project Unity. Jay's interested in material discussions regarding UFOs, as well as addressing the consciousness connection that exists within the topic. Jay tries to present a multidisciplinary selection of discussions, not all of which are restricted to the UFO subject, but that is certainly the keystone of Project Unity. Jay, amazing to have you, brother. Welcome.
What's up, guys? Really, really happy to be here.
Oh, dude, this is great. Okay, so first of all, I know you're even though you're a public person, you are a private person. You want to give away your last name, and so I was like, man, how cool if we gave him a cool last name like Jay Malibu or Jay California.
I'll take Jay Malibu.
Like
Jay Malibu actually strikes me nicely.
Kind of sounds like a Miami Vice detective.
Right.
Yes.
Right. I kind of stole it from The Office with James Spader's character.
Yeah.
I think it was like his name was like Bobby California or something like
Oh,
that.
Johnny California.
Anyway, man. So, dude, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm so happy you're here. You're a person I've been wanting to talk to for a really long time. I really respect your work. I think, you're one of the unique voices because you do have almost like a spirituality to it, man. It's like you're really in contact with your consciousness and sort of your soul and who you are, and then you speak, and I love it. It's just it hits me angelically in the ears.
I'm just an imperfect human, man. I'm just trying to figure this out.
See, that's what I'm saying. That's a perfect way to put it. So I mean, I know we wanted to start with the Eric Wilson Davis stuff, right? And I want to get there, but quickly, if you can, just give a background, because we do have a lot of people in this audience that don't know anything about UFOs. They don't know anything about UAPs. They don't know the history, and they're getting into it through this channel. And I just want folks to know who you are, what you do, and sort of what your philosophy is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if I know anything about UFOs, right? I mean,
right.
Kind of the reason why we're all here to try and figure some aspect of that out. And I've been around now for like a couple of years, seriously contributing to my channel and kind of making a structure only really in the last year, even less than that maybe. But I mean, you said yourself, I came into this conversation through somewhat of a spiritual bent. I guess to a certain degree, it's a coalition of things, because I am materialistic in nature, in terms of I like to look at things and analyze them and break them down and understand them, and so I don't necessarily consider myself like a fully spiritual person, but I have an inclination towards those kind of things.
Right.
And funnily enough, you know, I came into this subject in such a strange kind of synchronistic way, and I can't kind of ignore the way that I came into this. And so I totally appreciate the nuts and bolts discussion, the material discussion. You know, I even enjoy talking about the national security implications and all of that kind of stuff. Like I'm fine with it. But you know, the foundation that really holds up what I do is I like to talk about the mystery of consciousness. Like even above like UFOs, like consciousness, what it is to be aware, what it is to, you know, have a mind and a sentience. Like this to me is genuinely fascinating. And none of us have answers for that. And so that's one of the deepest mysteries of reality, you know, perhaps even above UFOs, is why are we even conscious? So I came through this level of, you know, kind of researching consciousness related subjects, looking at it from a spiritual side, looking at it from the, you know, as much as I could grapple it, quantum mechanics, physics side. And I call Project Unity because I believe in a symbiosis between what we can call spirituality and science. Like I believe that these two things do not need to be at complete opposites of each other, and it's just different vantage points, different points of observation, to look at the same thing and kind of translate it in a particular way. And I kind of have this sense that for a long time we were embedded within spirituality and, you know, tribal shamanistic roots, and then we came into the age of enlightenment, and it was science and, you know, materialism and logic. And I think we might be approaching a concrescence, like a point where these two things come together, through what you could look at as maybe the quantum age, the age of you know, information and seeing things in a very different way to we did when we were having a Newtonian model for physics. So to cut a long story short, because I'll babble on and you'll have
no, I love it. Please babble.
Yeah, like that's why I made it. You know, I made Project Unity because I believe these two things should be discussed. And along the way, I've just been quite fortunate. You know, I've managed to network with a lot of people, have some really cool interviews, and happy to be here now talking about it.
Brother from another mother. I mean, this has always fascinated me. And, you know, even in college, this is where I first got turned on to this sort of conversation about consciousness. I was a philosophy minor, and I just got sucked in because there's no real good answers. You've got the materialists and you've got the spiritualists, and there's just this ever ongoing war between the two. You mentioned something interesting, though. You said you had kind of a synchronicity experience when you entered into this topic. Would you mind sharing what that is? What that was?
I can, but yeah, I'll try and not go
we
on.
Can go woo. We can go woo. It's okay.
No, it's not that. It's just I'll be talking for so long. You'll be like, Jesus, I wish I'd never asked this question. Because it's kind of, you know, for me personally, just on a subjective, personal level, there's been a lot of kind of checkpoints in my personal road, in my journey, that led to this, and that to me is why I can't let go of the strange, conscious, synchronistic side to this whole discussion. So I mean, to cut a really long story short, I'm trying to think of the best way to do this. When I was kind of like 19, 20 years old, so I'm 26 now. When I was like in university and college, I was, you know, in a bit of a depression, and you know, I'm going to try and wrap this up really tightly, but I was in quite a big depression, and my dad actually sent me these books that were titled Conversations with God by a guy called Neil Donald Walsh. And
I've read it. Yeah,
yeah,
good one.
They're fantastic books. And you know, I don't run around preaching like they're a Bible, but for me, it just really was the first thing that jump started a curiosity into what consciousness might be, what spirituality might be, because I wasn't a very spiritual person. But these books really did take me out of a kind of, you know, a mental funk. And I wasn't able to kind of break out of that until I read these books, and it just unlocked something. So from that point, I was kind of on this journey of researching different aspects about consciousness and spirituality and, you know, quantum mechanics, and trying to understand these things. And literally in this room, I remember I was sitting on my bed, and I suppose this is kind of like the main synchronicity, I guess, for me. Like I was sitting on this bed, and I got to a point where funnily enough, I was kind of slipping into another depression, because at this point I felt I'd absorbed quite a lot of information, had these ideas and thinking about these expansive thoughts about life and death and consciousness, but none of it felt like it applied to my life. And that was starting to frustrate me. I was like, this all just feels theoretical. It all just feels like stuff that, I can comprehend it maybe existing, but how the hell does this benefit me in my life? Now I just feel like, I'm walking around with all these things in my head and I can't even focus on what's in front of me, because, what do I do with all this stuff? So I was sitting on the bed over there, and I literally just, I guess you could call it a prayer, but I didn't really think of it that way. I just spoke out to the universe. I was like, look, I need something in my life that is representative of these things I've been absorbing, these things I've been learning. Like, it all just feels theoretical. I need something to do with my hands, something to do in this life, right? And so literally a week after I had this affirmation, this request from the universe, my best friend, who is sorry, my throat's a bit funny. My best friend, who is like a weirdly spiritual person on my own journey, our paths have interwoven in strange ways. He actually introduced me to the documentary Unacknowledged by Dr. Stephen Greer. And so that was like my first ever introduction into the world of ufology. Like, taking aside the controversies, which, to be fair, are well-founded with Stephen Greer in terms of profiting and all that stuff. Like, I understand that totally, but just understand that I was coming into this fresh-faced. I had no idea who anyone was or anything like that. So I watched this documentary, and they're talking about military testimony. They've got the eyewitnesses from ICBM stations and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, wow, this actually seems like there's something to the UFO conversation. Like, this is my first ever dose of it. So I'm like, this is really interesting. I was curious about this kind of stuff throughout my life, but I never actively researched it, so I had no background knowledge. And so I watched this documentary. Near the end of the documentary is when Stephen Greer starts to talk about the idea that consciousness can actually be perturbed in some way in order to initiate a communication scenario with these things, and that you can use expanded states of like meditative consciousness to in some way send signals out, and something is able in some way to receive, interpret, and respond to that signal. And when he said that, for me, it was just like a light bulb going off in my head, because of the previous journey, because of all these little kind of synchronicities in the road that led to me looking at consciousness in the model of like a universal consciousness, a coherent state in the universe. Having someone suddenly say this, especially when I just like literally a week prior been sitting on my bed saying, I need something that I can apparently do, like I can actually do. And here's this guy saying, hey, you can use the things that you were just wondering about that week beforehand, and they were all theoretical. You can use it in a practical way. And so I completely sympathize with and totally understand anyone who's come into this subject through a materialistic documents, analytical research path. It's very difficult to understand how and why consciousness is related to this idea of contacting UFOs and, all this kind of stuff. It seems really hard to digest. And I understand that. But because of my own journey, for me, when that was told to me, when this kind of revelation of you can use consciousness to do this kind of communication, when that was said to me because of my previous journey, I didn't doubt it. I was like, oh, yeah, that's like, my intuition kind of like lit
exactly what I was looking for.
This is what you were asking for. So I think, because I really do think intention is really key here. There's something about the sensitivity of your own belief systems and your own intentions that interfere and interact with these very subtle frequencies of consciousness. And so I was just kind of like I was like, yeah, I believe this is real. And so you could say that was naive, but I had experiences. Like, I had experiences because of these beliefs that I had. So I went out into my garden, started getting into these very calm meditative states. So super basic. I'm not a meditative practitioner. I'm so bad with it, honestly. Like, I've got worse. I need to get back into it more. But I'm just saying that because I'm not saying I'm not like a yogi and like meditation, expert. It's like, no, I just got into, this is why I kind of got so energized about wanting to talk about it. Cause I was like, dude, I'm just anyone. I'm just some guy. And I got into like a basic breathing in and out, calming my mind state. And then started to really coherently think about what I wanted, like sending out messages essentially in my mind. Like, and that's the way it worked for me. Is I would just go out into my garden, I'd calm my brain down, I'd calm my mind down. And once I got to that kind of very basic meditative state, I'd just model like responses. I'd be saying like, if anything's out there that believes in this, that, and the other, come and see me. You can model it in whatever way suits you in terms of like linguistics, but I just had a specific way of thinking, and I would imagine that it's resonating out. That's it. I can only be honest with you and say that is what I was trying to do. And from that, I did have experiences, and like, we can get into that for sure. I'm happy to talk about like the experiences I had. A lot of people who have, been familiar with my channel have heard me say it quite a few times, but, I had these experiences, and because I had them, it made me realize that, at least on a subjective level, because I've got no evidence, I've got no proof, but at least on a subjective level for me, I know that there's something way more mysterious to consciousness than just kind of electrochemical, responses and complex neural pathways generating thoughts. Like there's something else, there's a resonance, a field that seems to be involved with this. And so I kind of look at consciousness as something that's likely, and I wouldn't be able to explain it to the satisfaction of a scientist, but likely embedded, entangled, integral to the substructure of reality in some way. And that we are in some way like receivers. The human body, the body brain interface could like kind of be seen as a biological quantum computer. It's a complex receiver, a waveguide, and consciousness propagates through that waveguide and expresses itself in more complex states. And so, humans are just a very, very complex expression, I think, of this underlying conscious force. It comes through and is, concentrated through this complex mechanism that we operate, but it's just the vehicle. This is the kind of stuff that I believed in. And when I watched that documentary and was told that you could use these ideas to initiate contact, and then when I did, I had eventual success, that I can't walk away from it. Can't walk away from that. I'm happy to talk NatSec. I'm happy to talk military incursions, Navy, US Pentagon, but I cannot get over the fact that I used my mind and something turned up, man. Like, and I'm not alone. I'm not alone. I'm not the freak in the corner who's like saying, hey, like there's plenty of people.
No. And I hope you never got that feeling from me. But what I was really going to say is, okay, great.
From other people, sure.
yeah, I'm sure. No, it's look, I've had an experience, so I can relate. I can absolutely 100% relate. I was going to say, after listening to what you just said, first of all, thank you for sharing that. But second of all, if you're listening and you haven't shared this conversation yet, what are you doing? Get as many people as you can in here, because that was awesome. Okay. Because there's a lot of things you just hit on that I really want to talk about. But what do you want to do first? Because I told you you're a guest. And you really want to get these Wilson things. I didn't want to just plow over that, but we definitely got into this cooler conversation. So if you want to stick with us, we can.
I think, well, look, we can totally stick with the consciousness thing. I definitely want to touch on some of the Wilson stuff, just because, and like there's no bad blood between us at all.
No, not at all.
I did like respond to you on Twitter, just kind of saying like, I think there's more legitimacy to this than some people believe, and I definitely would like to highlight some of those points. But if you want to jump onto consciousness,
how long do we have you for, Jay? Do we have you?
Well, we've got you for an hour. Basically, he's like, you know what? If I can stay for a little bit longer than an hour, I'll let you know. I gave him the option, like we do with all of our guests.
Well, why don't we hit on the Wilson documents quickly, and let's come back to this conversation, because it's so fascinating.
I've written down some things you said, so there's definitely things I could come back to and ask you about. So we'll get right back to that. But yeah, let's go over these Wilson dividends, because here's the thing, right? I'll just give you my quick synopsis. I think it's first of all, it's awesome to read and to look at. It's fun, it's juicy, it's sexy. It's information that I feel like I want. Part of me really wants that kind of information, so that it fulfills a part of me that I enjoy. And then I sit back and then I look at the analysis of it, especially from a whole bunch of people that are familiar with how intelligence works, are familiar with a whole bunch of other aspects of it. So when I look at it, I use the verbiage, and maybe I'm wrong when I do this, but I use the verbiage. I think it's just a little too woo-woo for an average person to wrap their brain around. Now, when I say woo-woo, I don't mean like it's fucking weird or crazy. I just think it's complicated and hard to understand. It's not something I could just slap on your desk and go, okay, here you go. You got to check this out. I mean, you need in days to really analyze what's going on in these documents. So I think my verbiage was wrong. So for that, I apologize.
No, that's to be fair, like now that you've said that, I can totally agree with the way that you used it, because I kind of thought you meant, oh, it's just like it's a bit airy fairy, like it, you know, like,
No, not at all, not at all.
Yeah, that makes more sense to me.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to tell you, because I couldn't do that in a tweet.
Yeah,
you know, so like it's not that I don't believe it. I mean, part of me doesn't. You know, part of me thinks it's too perfect.
Yeah.
You know, it's like kind of laid out for you. But you said you had some points that you wanted to hit
look,
on.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, I don't consider myself to be an authority on the
Neither do I. Oh, by the way, we're not experts. None of us here are fucking experts. Let's be clear. I really got to make this clear, because people. So I think some folks think that I'm claiming to be an expert. Dude, I'm an actor out of Los Angeles, and I'm interested in this topic. I'm just a schmo like you, and we're asking questions, and we're trying to familiarize ourselves with complex issues, and it's okay to be wrong about these things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if there's miscommunications, if there's things that happen, man, let's just talk about it. Let's talk about it. So okay. So with that said, I mean, what do you have to say as far as I know, like you said, you had some points on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I happen to get connected to some of the people who are closest to the story, and I think it's important for me to say that, you know, there is no way of validating the actionability of some of the information that's contained within those documents, right? You know, that there are some key details though that I think are probably worth highlighting. So first of all, we know the document came from a reputable source. It came from the archives of the estate of the Apollo 14 astronaut Edgar Mitchell, all right, when he passed away. Most of Edgar Mitchell's files on the UFO subject were going to be thrown away. His family was not interested in keeping this research, but a friend of the family convinced them to let them have Edgar's files. And, you know, this person wishes to remain anonymous. I don't know their name, but I know people who do know their name. One of those people is James Rigney, the man who was given the documents by this friend of the family. And the other individual who's aware of this person is investigative journalist Ross Coulthart, who I think the vast majority of people in the UFO community now know about Ross. You know, both James and Ross are extremely credible individuals. You know, I speak with both of them on almost a daily basis, and I feel very fortunate to count them as friends and colleagues. So it was actually Ross who was permitted to be the primary archivist of the entire breadth of Edgar Mitchell's files. You know, it's a fact that these documents came from Edgar's files. Now, alongside the fact that a NASA astronaut, sixth man to walk on the moon, you know, Edgar Mitchell was also in a key position within Robert Bigelow's research group, the National Institute for Discovery Science, better known as NIDS. And so he was, you know, a member of a very select group of experts of various disciplines who were focusing on the study of UFOs and other anomalous phenomena. And amongst the ranks of NIDS on the advisory board, alongside Edgar Mitchell, you know, there was Hal Puthoff, and of course there was Eric Davis. So if this meeting did take place and a report was generated from this meeting, you know, the idea that this would be circulated amongst a core group in NIDS is highly plausible. I mean, you know, these people, they knew how to keep a secret. They had security clearances. Many of them were already adhering to NDAs because of their work with the government. So that, you know, they trusted each other. And the second point I want to bring up is it again focused on Edgar Mitchell. I think it's clear that Edgar was becoming frustrated with the secrecy around the UFO issue, right? And I do think some of this frustration came from him being exposed to Eric Davis's notes from when he met the Admiral. Now, I can't remember the specific year, but it is on YouTube, and I can always send you a link, and you can put it in the description box or whatever. But Edgar Mitchell goes on to CNN with Larry King. He's joined by some others, including the ever skeptical Bill Nye. Edgar Mitchell proceeds to describe the events leading up to the Admiral's apparent investigation, which is what eventually was supposed to have led to the Admiral meeting with Eric and the creation of the Wilson documents or the Eric Davis notes. Now, I've got here somewhere, hang on a sec. I want to read this out for you because for those,
is it on your computer?
Yeah, I've got it here.
You could share it with us if you want.
Oh, I haven't got the video on the computer. Sorry, no. I've got the statement by.
Oh, got it.
He was on CNN. He was talking to Larry King. They were asking about the situation, and this is what Edgar said. So he said, "I eventually went to the Pentagon and asked for a meeting with the Intelligence Committee of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, which I got with another naval officer who had many similar experiences." And we told our story, and this gentleman, a vice admiral, said to us, "Well, I don't know about that, but I'm going to find out," and called a few weeks later and said he had found the source of the black budget funding for this project and that he was going to subsequently investigate it because if it was real, he should know about it. As a matter of fact, he should be in charge. Those were his words. And so we did get calls from him sometime later, and a report much later than that he had found the people responsible for the cover-up and the people who were in the know, and was told, I'm sorry, Admiral, you have no need to know here, and so goodbye. And so that's Edgar Mitchell on CNN with Larry King, right? So that's prior to the leaking of these documents from his estate. Right. Here is Edgar Mitchell describing how a vice admiral, which is what Admiral Thomas Wilson would have been at that time, went on an investigatory journey through the black budgets of the Pentagon, found the program, spoke to the program managers, and was told he didn't have a need to know. Not only are we told the exact narrative of what would be later outlined in the Admiral Wilson documents, but Edgar Mitchell also tells us that a report was generated that confirmed this Vice Admiral's attempts and failures to gain access to this black budget program. Now, unless Edgar Mitchell is lying, which I find to be like really, really, really unlikely, he's describing the exact same situation that we read about through Eric's notes. Right. So that's a big deal. And like, it's something that's glossed over too much. And another thing, you can interrupt me at any point if you want to.
No. Well, hold on. Wait. Well, real quick, I will, because Zofa had a $5 donation, and it had to do specifically what you're saying. Even our technique is the same. That our experiences were so similar proves we tapped into the same thing. I trust Jay 100% because of this.
Yeah, there's that. You don't need to have any sort of like fanfare and circus around it, and that's kind of why I had an issue with Greer's very stringent CE5 protocols of like, you need to do a samadhi ceremony, you need to do like read Sanskrit. It's like, nah, bullshit, man, you don't need to do that. You just need to believe you can do it, enter a very basic meditative state. Maybe you don't even need to do that, but I've definitely found that meditation is useful, because I think you do need to have a clear mind, and I think all of us know what it's like to have a chattery monkey mind, and nearly spilt my coffee all over my groin.
Oh no, that would have been terrible.
That would have really affected my ability to provide advice on meditation if I just spilt coffee over me. But luckily that didn't happen. That was so close.
I'm happy it didn't. But who knows? It might have been an epiphany and awakening because of it.
It's like Eureka! Yeah. No, but he's right. You don't need to do all that crazy stuff, at least in my opinion. And that's what was so revelatory for me, was the fact that, and that's why I got so energized to talk about it. It was like, oh my God, anyone can do this as long as they have just a basic level of understanding of it. And so I've always endeavored to try and figure out the best way of explaining it. If you go too spiritual, it becomes all woo-woo. If you go too technical, it becomes like, quantum junk verbiage. So it's like, there's got to be a middle ground.
There has to be. I was just about to say, there's definitely a middle ground.
That's what I'm trying to find, man.
And I think it's a worthy mission.
Yeah,
it's a worthy mission. And we are going to get to this, Jazz, I promise you, but he be a $50 donation. I got to read it. I would like to hear about Jay's personal experiences and observations. I'm sure he's told this in other places, but it would be great for this audience. I promise you we'll get to it. But let's go back to the Wilson Davis. And just finish that, and then we'll continue with these other things that folks want to talk about.
Awesome, man. So I'll just roll off a few more points, because I just think it's important to coalesce all these points together. Once you package it all together, it becomes a little bit more like, oh, okay, maybe there's something to this. So the next thing I'd like to highlight probably be the fact that so Eric Davis, he's never confirmed or denied the legitimacy of the Admiral Wilson documents, right? So let me repeat that. Eric Davis has never confirmed nor denied the legitimacy of the Admiral Wilson documents. He has given some very long-winded explanations as to why he can't talk about them. So during his interview with Stephen Greenstreet for the New York Post, an interview which has subsequently been deleted and has never resurfaced, other than some transcripts online. I think Joe Mergia might have a copy on his blog. Eric Davis not only confirms point blank that the document was leaked from the estate of Edgar Mitchell, but he also gives some very interesting comments when he's pressed on this by Stephen Greenstreet. So these are some statements I've got here from that small little portion of the interview. So Stephen asks Eric if he can speak about the Wilson documents, and Eric responds by saying, "I can't discuss that. I'm not at liberty to discuss that. They were leaked out of Ed Mitchell's estate, and there's nothing I can say about it." Now, Stephen was quite brilliant, because he didn't let up. He pressed Eric again and again to speak on the veracity of the documents. And this is when Eric said the following: "I can't address," this is Eric, "I can't address that at all. I won't answer any questions on the Admiral Wilson notes. They're purportedly classified information. I'm not at liberty to confirm or verify any aspect of those notes. You know, when you have security clearances, that's something you don't want to violate, because the Department of Justice under the Obama administration, and it's continued under the Trump administration policies, is they will vigorously prosecute anybody with security clearances who will go out of their way to discuss any classified information that got leaked or released into the public illegally or through other means.
Yeah.
Close quote. Now, something that is certainly worth highlighting here, and it's something that I think more than most people, Joe Murgia would be able to confirm due to his kind of close contact and communication with Eric. Right. Eric does not tolerate bullshit at all. Like, he is quick to call out when he thinks something's BS. And, you know, do people honestly think that a fake document describing a fake meeting between Eric Davis and a senior flag rank officer, you know, like a former director of the DIA, talking to Eric about classified crash retrieval programs, like, do people honestly think that Eric Davis would sit there and give long-winded explanations about clearance restrictions, or that he can't speak on it because it might pertain to ongoing programs? You know, Eric Davis would respond to a fake document like this? I don't think so, because if it's false, if Eric Davis never met the Admiral and didn't create these notes, I'm sorry, but the idea that he wouldn't make a concerted effort to ensure that people were aware that he had nothing to do with it is kind of absurd to me, and it should be absurd to you. Like, there is no way a guy like Eric Davis would act the way he's acting in response to questions about these documents if he didn't write them. If he didn't author these notes, like, you know, we would know about it. He would make sure we knew about it. You know, there's people that can attest that he's got that type of attitude, you know. And one of the other ones I want to quickly bring up is Hal Puthoff, because he's important in this. Now, Hal Puthoff has been like super careful with his words, but he either slipped up or purposefully dropped this little nugget of information during the Q&A sessions of his 2020 transition talks, where he was providing the ATIP ORSAT backstory, the U.S. Navy incursions backstory. So he was basically just bringing people up to speed with what all of us in the UFO community would see as the modern day discussion from 2017 onwards. And after his presentation, there was a Q&A session. During this, someone asked about the authenticity of the Admiral Wilson leaks. This is what Hal Puthoff had to say word for word in response. This is a question about the Wilson documents that apparently got leaked on the internet. Admiral Wilson was one of the Admiral Wilson was one of the Joint Chiefs of Staff interviewed by my senior scientist colleague Eric Davis. Since it discusses potentially ongoing programs, I have no comment. So let's break this down for a minute. First of all, Dr. Harold Puthoff, who was at one time Eric Davis's boss and was also on the advisory board at NIDS alongside Eric and Edgar Mitchell, Hal just told us that Eric Davis interviewed Admiral Wilson. This is the first direct acknowledgement from one of the key players involved that this meeting between Eric and the Admiral took place. And it is worth remembering. It's worth remembering that this is a meeting that Admiral Wilson categorically denies. The only part of this whole story that Admiral Thomas R. Wilson has ever confirmed was the initial meeting at the Pentagon, which included Dr. Edgar Mitchell, Dr. Stephen Greer, and Commander Will Miller. Admiral Wilson confirmed this initial meeting took place. He confirmed this to Richard Dolan when Richard spoke with him on the phone some years back. But Admiral Wilson has denied any subsequent investigations on his part, any denials of access, and he's denied meeting Eric Davis and being interviewed by him. But here we have Hal Puthoff clearly stating that Admiral Thomas R. Wilson was one of the Joint Chiefs of Staff interviewed by his senior scientist colleague, Eric W. Davis. And on top of this, he finishes his statements by saying, since it discusses potentially ongoing programs, I have no comment. So instead of saying, like, no, this is a fake document, or no, this meeting didn't take place, or I don't believe it's legitimate, he chose instead to acknowledge the fact that Eric interviewed the Admiral. And then he says that he can't elaborate because it might relate to ongoing programs. And you know, this, in my opinion, this is as clear as we're ever going to get it from someone like Hal. He is literally telling us this is real. He's telling us this is real without directly confirming it and causing problems for himself and others, right? Like, anyone who considers the statements from Eric Davis and the statements from Hal Puthoff in relation to these leaked documents as nothing more than a no comment, and there are people who consider these statements to be nothing more than a no comment. I'm sorry, but it's foolish, or you're being purposefully obtuse.
Well, let me ask you this. So then what is the disconnect then with Stephen Greenstreet and this story? Like,
I just think that, with all respect to Stephen Greenstreet, I don't think he was aware of some of the things that I've just highlighted.
You don't think he's aware of those things?
I know that he wasn't aware of some of those things, because I told them, and I told him, and he was subsequently a little more interested. So yeah, I think it just comes down to a knowledge vacuum. Yeah.
For you, what's the most important thing or telling thing that you have read in the doc that you believe is so valuable that we just have to take it at face value? Like what for you do these Wilson documents show that you think is incredibly important for this conversation?
I don't think any of it should be taken at face value. Like I said at the beginning, there's no way to like fully verify some of the the data that's inside these documents about the fact that these programs were doing this, that, and the other. But there is a trail going all the way through this. There is a chronological,
there's a
totality
to it.
Yeah, so if you look at each individual piece, it doesn't seem like much. When you start to coalesce it, you're like, how can all of these things be happening in this space without this being something to discuss and look into and be interested in? Because like it's I can't say that everything that's in those documents is real, but there are other people who are also saying that there are programs. I mean, a recent example would be when I interviewed Ross Coulthard. He told us about the former director of the U.S. Navy Science and Technology Division, Nat Kobitz, the head guy of the U.S. Navy Science and Tech Division, was dying of cancer, was speaking with Ross, and he acknowledged the fact that he was read into crash retrieval and re-engineering programs. So, I mean, guys, it's not like we're looking at this document as the only piece of apparent evidence or data. But when you put all of this together, you put Edgar Mitchell's statements, you put these weird no comments by Eric Davis and Hal Puthoff, like everyone's trying to shuffle around this and not say it's like, again, one of the big points, and like I said, it's about collecting all this together. But Eric Davis, like, he doesn't sit back and just be like, oh yeah, someone's made up a fake document about me. He'd be like, this is absolutely like slanderous and a lie. He hasn't done that. And he's directly implicated. He's like the main guy. And and the only person who's actually denied that this took place is the person that said that he would do that. He said he would do that. Admiral Wilson said in the notes, I will deny any and all knowledge of this if it comes out. It comes out, he denies any and all knowledge of it. And he's the only person to ever full on say that. Eric and Hal have never said that. So I think we might as well cap it off here. But like, these are some of the most important points. There have been some recent developments done by a woman called Brit, and she's got a channel called Brit in Wonderland, and she's done 2 videos which are really good, like kind of developments on pushing the credibility forward for the Wilson documents, because she did some digging and found some US government documentation about oversight issues and special access programs. It's just, it's kind of peripheral. It's not directly implicating the Wilson leaks, but it helps strengthen the case that a scenario like this could happen to someone like Admiral Wilson when he approaches a program and they tell him to go do one, and just to run away. So yeah, like I just wanted to get it out there that there are some really, really interesting data.
No, those aren't
real.
I think those are, first of all, that was awesome. That was awesome. Okay. Second of all, if we can, just real quick, Artemis, if you can hear me, just if you could give me that website again that you just mentioned, Brit.
Oh yeah, so it's BRITT, Brit. In Wonderland.
In Wonderland. If you could find that YouTube channel, just pop it in the comment section so people can go check that out. That would be awesome.
Like, she's been involved in like a research effort of UFOs like since the 60 Minutes thing came out. So she's really new. She's like really new. But she's just popped up out of nowhere, and like she's done these 2 very interesting videos that just kind of strengthen the case for something like this existing.
Well, hey man, more data is more data is more data. So and she's new to new to the world, man. Let's blast her out there. Let's try and get her as many people as we can to go check that work out. Okay, so I'm gonna tap on one thing real quick before we end the Wilson Davis thing. We could devote honestly a whole show to this.
A whole week to it.
Maybe we should do a Wilson Davis leaks week. We'll bring on both sides. Let's see if we can get a dialogue going, because like I love John Greenwald, for example. Like there's 2 people that we just mentioned here. The first is John Greenwald. Well, I'm mentioning him. I'm going to bring him up now. And then the second was Stephen Greenstreet. And I mean, without Stephen Greenstreet, without that interview, like a lot of this stuff doesn't line up as well, right? Like without that pushing, without that curiosity, like he's clearly fighting for this, right?
Oh yeah.
He's just as a reporter, as a journalist, if he wants to run with that story, he's got to have something more concrete. So I can understand from his perspective why it's like, I need more.
Well,
I think if you're going to write it, it's got to be like an opinion piece, or it's got to be like, let me walk you through what this possibility could be.
That is exactly what I said to him. Do it as an opinion piece. It doesn't have to be categorical fact. That's not what we're looking for.
Well, but maybe his editor doesn't let him do that.
Well, yeah, exactly. And no, I'm not throwing shade on Stephen. Me and Stephen get on. Like, I like Stephen.
Yeah, no,
I respect the way that he's looking at this. But I just think it's important to highlight the fact that, like, it's not about proving this is a real scenario, 100% undeniable. I think it's more about putting it out there and going, look, there's a lot of data points here. When you put them all together, there seems to be something quite compelling here. And the narrative we're being told about it being fake seems kind of fishy because of the way these guys are acting around it. We should maybe open it up for further development and, like, put it out there and leave it in a way that people go, maybe that is real. I would love to know a bit more about. That's kind of what I plan to do with this, like, little documentary thing I've done, which I've released a trailer for recently, a little teaser trailer. I want to try and package that scenario up in a way that if I showed it to, like, my grandparents, they'd be like, okay, yeah, like, I can see how that might work. Exactly. So, like, hopefully I can do something to bolster that and just kind of put it all together, kind of the way that I've done it just now, but in a documentary. Like, here are all the things. But yeah, like, it's not about essentially saying this is real, here's the evidence for it. It's just, here's the evidence for this maybe being real. I think something that was important that you said earlier is that this isn't the only thing. This isn't the only thing. This is just one of many, 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 many things and many stories and many perspectives and many situations that we can bring up. Absolutely. But I mean, my thing, well, real quick, because I thought John Greenwald's thinking on this was just fun, because he's coming from a production aspect, right? He's a writer, he's a producer, he's written and sold television shows. He's a really smart dude. He's the FOIA king. Without John Greenwald, where is this community today? Absolutely. I've got lots of appreciation for John Greenwald, and I have a lot of admiration and respect for him. But, being a FOIA king doesn't mean you're king at everything, man.
No, agreed. But let's just, for a second, let's have fun with the thought process, right? Let's just have fun with the idea of, let's just talk about it. Like, what if this is just someone's, like, look, I'm a actor and a producer and a writer. So from a production aspect, a lot of my life is waiting tables, right? Or doing small comedy clubs, or, doing the grind. So naturally, a lot of my writing, my creative process might focus around those fields or those worlds, because that's what I'm familiar with. Is it possible?
No.
No, you don't think it whatsoever?
No, it's not possible, because there's too much internal knowledge in that. Plus, like, just to put my own little bit of knowledge into this, I did a TV and film degree, and I know what a film treatment looks like. That's not a script. It's not a treatment. And,
no, it's not a film. It's not a treatment. The writing of it does feel a little bit that way.
Yeah, I can understand that, but I think it comes down to the level of internal knowledge going on there. That's not something that you're looking to present to, like, some average Joe. Like, that's, like, there's some serious terminology in there. There's people that are named that really shouldn't be named. Like, and also, just to take it away from that, Edgar Mitchell has said that the Admiral Wilson, investigated this and was denied access. Like, it's not just the fact that there's a piece of paper with writing on it. There's really credible people that have walked on the moon who have told us that this is actually a real scenario, and there was a report generated, and, yada, yada. So that there's converging data points. It's not just a document. There is a story. There is a chronology. There is a whole kind of chain of custody that leads all the way back to Edgar Mitchell's estate. And so it just seems disingenuous to go, oh, it's just a film script. It's like, well, what the hell's... So Edgar Mitchell received a film script and then decided, before that film script ever got leaked, which only got leaked because he died, and someone was lucky enough to convince the family to not throw out his stuff. Like, it's so coincidental, man. Like, it's like...
No, I understand. I understand what you're saying, but I don't think Greenwald is going, this is what it is.
No,
it's just like, hey, this is what it could be. This is sort of my perspective on it because this is the world that I live in. So I'm going to throw this out there and see what people think. And I think it pisses people off more than it does anything. But it's because it's a thought experiment. It's making you think about something that you don't like to think about because, as you just laid out very nicely, it's almost preposterous. It's like, well, then if that's true, then why are all these other things true? And I get that, dude. I'm just saying, like, this is why I can't take the Wilson Davis documents and plop it on a senator's desk.
Of course not.
Like I again, going back to where I originally said, like, I love the story. It's fun. It fulfills a part of me.
It should be plopped on a New York Times editor's desk. And
for sure.
I can tell you with absolute certainty that the New York Times, elements of the New York Times were extremely interested
probably looking at it. Yeah.
Not probably. They were looking at it. Yeah. I can tell you that as a categorical fact that they wanted to include that in stories. But there's, difficulties with getting that kind of stuff into the Times. But this is being taken very seriously, man. Like, and I think that's
I don't think it's not. Like, let's just be clear. I think it's definitely being taken seriously, and it's being taken seriously because of those different pieces of it, but there are still big pieces missing to a point where, like, if it was rock solid, if it was 100%, even if it was 90%, someone at an editor at the Times would be like, all right, let's run with this. We can run with this. But I think if you put that out there and then you start getting all of these stories and conspiracies, it's like, well wait a second. And it's just tough.
Well, that's it. It needs to be developed upon. It needs to be. It shouldn't remain static and in the basement collecting dust. It should be developed upon. It's not about proving it. Like I said before, it's just like, let's put this out there and see if other people might, come into the fold and go, hey, I know something about that kind of thing. And
using it to chase down more people, more insight, more connections. I mean, if that's it's tough. It's tough, but you're right. I agree.
Right on. Well, real quick, I guess we'll end it here. Their statements are all conflicting in that circle. You see it with Lou and Davis as well. It's how they roll, homie, muddying the waters. What do you think of that?
Careful with what they say. They just have to be really careful with what they say, otherwise they'll go to a black site in the middle of nowhere where they're getting their toenails ripped out. Like, like they've got to be careful with what they say. It's the US government and it's the most clandestine research and development programs in the entire inventory. So it's like, I am not going to go out and say it's real. I mean, look at Lou Elizondo. He's like, yes, we've got debris. Yes, we have stuff. I can't say anything else about it. It's like, yeah, of course he can't say anything else about it. But they've given you enough to go, these people are looking at this stuff. They're looking at it. They are.
All right. So real quick, Michael, because people are screaming for it. Let's
reset the room.
Let's reset the room.
They're like, they can see me itching for it.
You're biting your pen. And we got Danny Silva who popped in. He's a little early, but that's cool. We'll bring him in the second hour. And we've also got Jazz Shaw coming in about 10 minutes. So Jay, you're more than welcome to hang, but I definitely want to get to the consciousness aspect of things with you, if we can, for the last 10 minutes. But real quick, Michael,
for 10 minutes of this.
10 whole minutes.
We're
not going to be able to do it. We're not going to be able to do it.
We can touch on it though. We can touch on it for a minute. Thank you guys so much for joining the Unidentified Celebrity Review. If this is your first time here, make sure you click the subscribe button and the bell so you know whenever we go live. 5 days a week, we are here with you Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the Unidentified Celebrity Review, and Tuesday and Thursday on the Singularity Lab, where we discuss breaking technology, breaking science, and the potential coming technological singularity. If you're somebody who is passionate about this topic, make sure you share, make sure you like, make sure you get this out there. We are here for you every single day to bring you the best people around who can share with you as much information as you're looking for in ufology. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. I'm super stoked here in just a few minutes. We've got Danny Silva coming in. We've got Jazz Shaw coming in. And for those of you who don't know who we're speaking with now, his name is Jay, and he is from Project Unity. Jay, you mentioned before that you had some experiences with meditation, consciousness, and you've seen some pretty incredible things. Can you share quickly with us what you saw?
Well, wait,
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
sorry. Well, I'm sorry, Jay. I'm sorry. I have to cut you off because real quick, I wanted to just touch on something you said earlier because I wrote down some things, and I wouldn't take any shame if Greer is the way you got into this. I think Stephen Greer is a way a lot of people got into this, and this is where I take the positivity from someone like Stephen Greer, who's so divisive
Yeah, absolutely.
for his reasons. But it's a good like if it wasn't for Stephen Greer, would Jay have
no.
made Project Unity? You know,
Yeah.
like that's the positive of a Stephen Greer. That's why I've changed my tune on Jeremy Corbell and Bob Lazar and all of these guys that I used to get angry about, and it would affect my freaking day because I was like, whoa, what this guy? He's evil, or he's, he's stealing money from people, or he's a liar, whatever my reasons were. And it's like, but wait a second, without that dude, I wouldn't be here. This show wouldn't exist.
No, he's done a lot. He's done a lot.
So I just wanted to touch on that. And then you were
Dude,
talking about
I have problems with my ego after like 2 years.
Oh
in
my
this
god,
subject.
dude!
Like,
Everybody
like to be like decades into this and like kind of held up as like the guy that's on disclosure. I mean, like
especially
that's
with the guns that dude has in the pecs. I mean, he's a stud,
right?
Okay. Yeah, he's an absolute stud. Okay, so real quick, you were talking about your spirituality, how you're not a very spiritual person, but how you sort of are connecting in a way with this on that level.
Yeah,
and I related to that. And the thing that I wrote down, because you were talking about intention and being a receiver, and I can't even tell you. I got a story one day that I'll tell you. I've told on the show before, but I don't want to repeat it because we don't have time. But like, God is in the details of the things that you do. Whatever you define as God is, right? So, and the details for you are this intention, this want to connect to something that you can physically work on. And I understand that, and I think that's where God is in a way. So I just thought that was really cool. So on that note, please share with us sort of your intentions that you put out there, the results that you got, and then dude, just go for it.
Yeah. Well, look, I'll respect Jazz's request of talking about something that I've seen. We've only got a few minutes left, so I'll try and be as succinct as possible. So, I was engaging in this type of thing, going out into my back garden, trying to initiate this type of contact, and I was seeing a lot of different, weird things. Like, I couldn't fully acknowledge as like, oh my god, that's a UFO, but I've always been a sky watcher. I've always liked looking up at the stars and enjoying the stars, and trying to spot a satellite, and like, obviously they've become a lot more frequent in these days, so it's hard sometimes because there's a lot of things crossing around in the sky. But what happened first of all was just an influx in frequency of things that look like satellites. All right, so I can't fully be like, that's a UFO. It looks like a satellite, but there's a lot of them. They keep turning up in like a really high frequency. So within like 15 or 20 minutes, I might have seen like 10 or 12 like coming across the sky. It's like, this seems weird, and it seems like there's too many of them. And that kind of thing was happening for a few months, going out, seeing these types of white orbs of light going across the sky. And it does seem in some way to be a progressive interaction. In some way, it seems to build up, and I'm not the only one that's experienced that. So it starts off with these white lights going across the sky. Then some of them start flashing very brightly as they're coming across, not sequentially like a signal, but a bright glow, flash, and then recede back down again. And that can be an iridium flare from an iridium satellite, but then it does it again, and then it does it again, and it seems to be in correlation with my thoughts. Like, I say hello or I say whatever, and then this thing glows and flashes. So, it could be patterns out of chaos, and I'm just like seeing something that, and attributing my experience to it being there. However, what happened to me in the most vivid sense, and there were 4 separate events with this type of phenomena, but I'll just talk about the first. And Jazz and anyone else listening, you can have a little scroll down on my channel. There are a couple of videos that are just titled My Contact Experiences, so you can find that stuff. So I was outside in my garden. I was looking up at the stars. I was in a calm, meditative state. I've been projecting intentions and thoughts about, wanting to make some sort of contact. And people can roll their eyes as much as they want, but I was modeling that on love and peace and like, diplomacy and like, putting out those types of thoughts that, hey, here's a individual that wants to make some sort of contact, and I'm doing it out of peace and love, you know. So it can be, as you can say that's kind of hippie and new age, but I wasn't exactly going Kali Ma Shanktate and saying fearful, you know, like trying to get some dark force out there. Like that's not what I wanted. So I'm there in a resonant state of love and peace and acceptance and that type of you know, open curiosity. A bright white flash happens in the right hand side of my sky, and my back garden's just out there, right? So I'm standing at the back of my garden. I'm looking towards my house at the top right side of the sky, in a crystal clear sky, bright white flash of light, and then it happens again, and then I'll keep my hand on the screen so you got a reference. Like it happens again and again and again, but it's just in the same spot of darkness. I can't even see an object. I'm just seeing this kind of flash and then darkness, flash and then darkness. And I was watching that, and it suddenly started moving. So it would flash once, and then it'd be slightly lower the next time it would flash, and slightly lower the next time it would flash, and it was just kind of gradually moving through the sky. And then it stopped, and it stopped just in terms of my perspective, could just be coincidence, but it stopped in alignment with two other stars. And so it kind of made like a triangle. Like this thing was flashing at the apex of the triangle. These other two stars were at the bottom. Sorry, let me just drink my coffee real quick.
No, you're good.
My throat's catching. Talking too quickly. So yeah, like this bright white flashing star or whatever it was, obviously not a star, is just kind of doing its thing. And I'm looking up at it and I'm thinking, that's not right. That's not normal. So hi, because I'm guessing you're something. And I was watching it for a while. It was going on for like a few minutes. So I decided to turn my head around and just kind of look around the sky. And I saw a cloud on. This is such a crazy story. I'm sorry for everyone.
No, dude, this is awesome.
Go on.
Dude, this is great, man. Don't be.
I've said it a few times, but I just like every time I get to this point, I'm like, oh god, like I know.
It's man. I understand. I totally understand. I love it. I love it.
Okay, so I look around. I see this cloud, crystal clear sky. I see this cloud. I do a double take. I kind of look up at it. I look back, and then I look back at it again. And so this is on the left-hand side. So again, I'm just to give you perspective. I'm at the back of my garden, looking towards my house, bright flashing light on this side, and there's a cloud that's going to drift past my house, right? If we say this microphone's my house, eventually it's going to do that, and it's going to drift off into the other direction.
Yeah.
But the cloud, when I did this double take, it didn't look normal. It was like glistening, staticky, like noise. Not super vivid. It had like I said, I had to do like a double take. Like it wasn't like I saw it and immediately, but the moment I locked onto this cloud, it was like staticky and aggravated, like charged particles or like noise, and that's the only way I can describe it. And the moment I saw that, I was like, what is this? Like that's not a cloud. That just looks roughly like a cloud, but that's not a cloud. And this thing was drifting past. Like I said, it was going to come past my house. I'm at the back of my garden. As it literally gets above my house, it's pretty high up, but as it gets above my house and it's essentially in alignment with the path that I'm standing on, this thing does a complete right angle degree turn, like complete 90-degree turn. So instead of going like that, it comes towards me. It's starting to arrive in the sky towards me. So this weird cloud that's kind of staticky and fizzy and weird does a right angle turn and starts floating towards me.
Okay.
And that made my heart skip a beat, because clouds don't do that. And as it got above my head, I kid you not, and I swear on my mother's life, and she was the first person I phoned up, basically in tears, and like kind of freaked out about what I'd seen. And this cloud just melted, just dissipated, just vanished in within the space of a second or half a second. It just kind of went, and inside it was a triangle formation of like my ballpark at the moment I've said is like 25, maybe 30 orange orbs of light in a tight triangle formation. It just melted out of a cloud, and there was this triangle formation. It didn't stop. It just continued going on its trajectory. I had to turn around and look at it with like my jaw just slack and my eyes wide and like my brain not working. And it just went off into the distance silently. And I phoned my mum and just kind of like bawled. I was just like, I can't believe you wouldn't believe what I've just seen. You wouldn't believe what I've just seen. I can't believe what I have just witnessed. And that changed everything for me. Like that, like I said, I have had some other experiences, 4 in total, that one included, with orange orbs. Never since, haven't come back, but I had 4 experiences within the space of a month. That was the first. I promise you I'm not lying. Like that is 100% why I'm here. I was a rock climbing instructor before all this, and so I had other things I was doing, and now I'm suddenly here. Like, like I didn't necessarily I mean, I was sitting on my bed and made that kind of prayer thing, so I kind of asked for it, but I didn't expect this. I didn't expect this, but it happened. And so for me, it's like on a personal level, I just know that consciousness has this amazing interactability with some phenomena, which is so much more sensitive, intelligent, like advanced than us. I don't know what it is. I don't know if that's alien, if that's spiritual, like interdimensional. I don't know. I just know that it's not us. It's not human. It's not prosaic. It can't be explained as a generic kind of misconception of an occurrence of nature. It was a cloud that melted away that I can only imagine is like some sort of generated field. And it just kind of like shut that off for a second and was like, yeah, I'm a triangle of orbs. I'm like this big orb squadron. So, like, that's what changed it all for me, man. Like that changed everything for me.
You're giving me goosebumps, my dude. Damn.
That's a cool story, man, and I want to hear more. I mean, Jay, like you're more than welcome to stick around. I know you're halfway around the world, so I can see the sun's gone down. You probably have to cook dinner for a loved one or something like that. So
just lonely me.
Well, dude, I don't know how. I feel like you are probably. Ooh, is it a tie or a very, very, very close second to Daniel Miller, Michael? Daniel Miller is like
the hot scale.
Yeah, the hot scale, the cutie pie scale. I mean, like they're both like tens, you know. They're both tens.
They represent UFO Twitter strong.
Yeah, dude. Because I mean,
do not inflate my ego.
You do not want this mug representing
anything. Dude,
like, you can't tell me shit. Luis told me I'm hot.
Bro, that's an incredible story, Jay. It really is. I mean, yeah, this idea, and so that's something that I've always been fascinated with the relationship between consciousness and manifestation and the quantum realm and how things are actually formed and what interactions the conscious mind plays in relationship to physical phenomena. This has always fascinated me. So your story is just it's profound and it's pretty moving, man.
I could talk to you for hours about that stuff, honestly. Like that is what I'm most interested in. So if you ever want to have like a full on just kind of consciousness discussion, and we can get weird, we can get real weird with it.
All right, well, you're coming on Singularity Lab for that. That's absolutely.
Yeah, you come on Singularity Lab for that. But what I can say is, I mean, look, we're doing the Big Phone Home. It's going to be a 3-day event. We'd love to have you there. I mean,
you're doing it again?
Oh, absolutely. Nice. Absolutely. Yeah.
Nice,
so,
nice.
Please join us. This is an official invitation if you'd like to join us. I mean, I'd love to get like a UK hour, because we're going to have a ladies hour. We're going to have a UK hour, a Canadian hour, where we bring all these folks from different parts of the world and give stories. We could talk about whatever we want in that first hour or in that hour. So, dude, it'd be an honor to have you. I think people in the chat are going crazy with how much they love listening to you.
Much appreciated.
Zofa said I missed his super chat. Did I miss the super chat, Zofa? I'm so sorry.
Got it.
No,
maybe there's another one.
He did send another one. I can't see it because it's already scrolled past in my system. Let me see if I can find it on the live show. I think I saw.
Zofa. Ask again. If we missed one.
Here, hold on. Let me see here. I think I can find it real quick. Give me a second. Sorry, Zofa. But anyway, Jay. The door's wide open for you, sir, to come back anytime you like. I thought this conversation was a lot of fun, dude. And like I said, I hope you join us for the Big Fun Home. But here's Jay's comment. He said, or Zofa's comment. He says, Jay and I have both had our room come into view during meditation.
Oh yeah,
both had CE5 on orange orb triangles. We're also both English. Blows my mind. Sorry I missed that, but yeah, dude. You want to comment on that one real quick?
Oh, shout out to Zofa. He's great. He's on my he's on my chats as well a lot for different interviews. He's always there, and we have had similar experiences for sure.
Dude, that's cool, man. Well, he's a big supporter of the show here too. So we appreciate the questions and the super chats. Thank you very much. So I mean, dude, with all of that, I'm gonna let you go because I know you said you had about an hour. Right?
Yeah. I would love to hang out, but I have got a bit of an early wake up tomorrow. So I'm gonna love you and leave you. But I'm really, really grateful for this. It's been awesome, guys. Like I love it, and you guys run an awesome show. Super funny, super relevant, and educational, informative, entertaining. All of those good things. So keep up the good work, guys.
We love it, man. We love it. Thank you.
All right. So we're gonna have you back for the Big Phone Home, and then I'll hit you up about that consciousness conversation as well.
Totally, Michael. All right, guys. You take care. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, Jay.
All right.
Yes,
thanks, brother. Great to see you, Jay.
That was great, man. That was great, dude. That was great. You see, like, that's why we got to talk to each other. Like, that's why we have to have the conversation face to face, dude. It's important. So we lost Danny Silva. I reached out to him on Twitter. Let's see if we can get him back in here whenever he wants to come in this hour. I told him to be here at 2:45. So in about 40 minutes, so we could save the last 15 minutes to talk to Danny and do that. Yeah.
We've also got John Greenwald interviewed us yesterday, and he's releasing his interview about the Big Phone Home 2 in a couple hours. And he actually also sent us over a trailer for it, which I can play a little later if we want.
Oh, great. Excellent. Yeah. Well, real quick, let's bring in we'll let Artemis get ready here real quick, and then we'll bring her in to read the poll. Let's bring in Danny Silva and talk to him for a hot second. Jazz, I see you backstage. Thank you for being here. We're going to bring you in a minute. I know we're running a little behind, so I hope you're okay with that. Can you give me a thumbs up if you're good? Excellent. I love you, man.
All right. Well, we've got Danny Silva joining us from the Silva Record. Ladies and gentlemen, Danny is, he's got an extraordinary amount of interviews, articles on his page. And if you're interested in ufology, he's been doing this for a hot minute. So check it out. Danny Silva, how are you?
AKA the bad guy. Sorry, guys.
No, dude, you're not a bad guy, man. You're not a bad guy. You're not a bad guy. Let's not start there, dude. You're a good guy. You're somebody who I respect a lot in this field, dude. And
absolutely,
and like we talked about on the phone, like, dude, I wanted you to be part of this from the beginning, but I know you're
He's a loner, Dottie, a rebel.
You're a wolf. You're a lone wolf. And
I want to talk about Wilson documents.
Let's do it. Yeah, dude. What do you got? What do you got to say about Wilson Davis?
Oh, I was kind of joking, but I mean, I don't think it's almost past the point where we're talking about is it a real document or not? To me, and I mean, Jay laid that out really well, and especially with Hal's comment and Eric's comments or non-comments. I think to me the big thing is we don't know if what the program managers told Wilson was like 100% BS.
Right.
But to me, the document is 100% real.
Right.
They could have lied to Wilson.
Right.
I think that's where
it's possible.
Some of the journalists that want to run the story probably get a little bit tied up with it because there's just no way to vet what Wilson was told. I mean, Wilson was told there's no abductions and kind of crazy stuff, or maybe some people would say that's more normal, and that there's reverse engineered crap, things like that can't be proved or proven. But I think a lot of us are pretty far past whether it's a fake document or something like that. So that's what I would tell the public. But I can't trust what Wilson was told. So it kind of throws a wrench in the whole story. But I think it's also very important, and there's a lot of leads in there.
Right. And I think we should be looking into all of those leads. But that's kind of what, that's kind of how we blew up Twitter yesterday, was this idea, because we were reviewing the show Mirage Men and how disinfo, how Doty was a disinformation agent and how afraid, me personally, I'm afraid to be a sucker. Right. I'm afraid I do not like the idea of being, led down the wrong path intentionally and being disinformed. And we were musing about, we brought up Elizondo and you took personal offense to that. Can you tell me why, what it was that we said or what bothered you about that?
I don't know if I took personal offense. It kind of became that, I guess. It started with Stephen Greenstreet, who's kind of been on a rampage the last.
What did I miss? What did I miss with the Green Street thing? Because I'm oblivious to that. What happened there?
He's, in all fairness, and Green Street asked me to Zoom with him earlier, and we did face to face. We privately Zoomed, and that goes a long way with me. And I think we came to kind of a mutual understanding, and that's cool. He's been real vocal the last month or two, and a lot of people do that, and it's okay because they say they're just asking questions. But I think it's also kind of a way to attack people and then say, I'm just asking questions. And I think that's a little bit, that could be unfair. And I try to stay out of that on Twitter. It doesn't make me happy to argue on Twitter. It makes me feel like crap. I don't like it.
Me too.
The human in me just wants to be a lover and be friends with everyone. And then kind of the truth seeker on my other shoulder, I don't know if that's the angel or the devil, wants me to blast people if I think they're inaccurate. And I think we all kind of have some of those feelings.
Oh, dude, I think as human beings, we all have to fight those urges, because I think going back to what Michael said, like nobody wants to be a sucker. Nobody wants to be wrong. But the thing with this topic is, and it's something that I've gotten in my head and it's taken me a long time, is we're going to be wrong at some point. We're just going to be wrong. Like something's going to be somebody like, and that's okay. We're human, just as long as we correct it when we're wrong, So that's, that's kind of where I'm coming from, dude. But like, you have an open door invitation to this show whenever you want to come on, man. Like I want your voice out there more. I think it's a fun perspective that you bring to the conversation, and you like to hold people's feet to the fire when you think the fire needs to be turned up. And that's a good thing. So beef, there's no beef, we're all good.
And I apologize for not calling you. I think we both screwed up in that regard. We should have just called each other right away. And it is a trigger for me, the Elizondo Mirajman disinfo stuff. I'm not saying nobody should ever talk about it or ever consider it, but a few of us, we've been fighting it since 2017. It sucked. Like right when he came out, like Jimmy Church was just going off on Elizondo. You can't trust anything he's saying.
Right.
You don't have to take my word for it. You can go back through his tweets. I know he loves Elizondo now, but years ago, I mean, he was just totally trashing him. So we had like all of Jimmy Church's fan base versus like only a few of us. There wasn't that many people, supporting To the Stars Academy at first or looking for following their stories. And they were really, so it's kind of like a trigger for me, and I get overly emotional for it. And that's my bad.
No, that's okay, dude. I mean,
yeah, and I just want to, I just wanted to clear the air. Like, that was never my intention to say, is Elizondo's a disinformation? Like, I was never attempting to make that
And you guys were floating it, and, that's probably okay to do. Like, even if I don't like it, it's okay to do it. And you're asking the questions, and, you weren't like overly anything. And you guys are friends with Lou. So, I get that. And I can't expect people to have the same kind of views or go about things the way I would. And you guys get a show to do.
Well, you know what's funny? It's kind of like you and Stephen Greenstreet almost have the same issue, where it's like you see something that's presented in a certain way and you get fucking pissed, and then you say something and you're like, damn it, why did I say it like that? Or why did I write it like that? Or why did I put it like that? I should have worded that differently, or maybe called somebody instead before I tweeted, because Greenstreet comes off sometimes like a dick. Like
they're calling him Stephen Mean Street.
Stephen Mean Street. Stephen Mean Street, and like what we were talking about with Jay in the first hour, like if it wasn't for Stephen Greenstreet, we would have never gotten so many details on this Wilson Davis document or the perspectives that interview brought to that story. Like Stephen Greenstreet wants the truth just as bad as all of us, I feel like, and so do you. And we're getting lost in these little like nuances of it, but we all want the same shit. Like we all want more truth. We all want more transparency, and let's just get there together. And anytime new information comes, we should all get together, analyze it, come up with a couple of opinions. And if it's great data, then we fucking run with it. And if it's not, we kind of just leave it there for people to look at. And we move on, dude. Like it's not that hard.
Yeah, and I get it coming from your perspective too, Danny. Like you've been doing this for a long time,
much longer than us.
You've put a lot of work, time, energy, but still, I mean, it's still, I'm right. I just want you to know what I think about you, and that's that I respect you tremendously, and I respect the work that you've been doing, and I realize I'm a new kid on the block, and I am not an expert, and I'm just here poking at this issue, and my.
I'm not an expert either.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing: is I think it's wise for everyone, all of us, myself included, to when we're phrasing something or we're putting something out there, or if we're upset, to breathe and maybe call each other before we freak out. I mean, that's definitely going to be my pledge to you. Like, I'd never want to have this conversation every day. like this is not fun. I'd much rather be talking about UFOs or a new blog you're working on, or you coming on to the Big Phone Home, which, by the way, I know you told me where you're working and stuff. It's the holiday weekend, so dude, if you want to come hang, you come hang.
I should be able to now, because I know what my schedule will be now. So should be able to.
Awesome,
Yeah,
brother.
I will be able to.
Well, Danny Silva,
Yeah,
my man. You know, I know you don't have a lot of time today, but what you have any last things to say before you get out of here?
I mean, we could go by point analysis of why I think Lou isn't a disinfo agent, but maybe we could just save that for another time. It's up to you guys.
Yeah, well, we don't think Lou's a disinfo agent, but I want to hear your list. But we got Jazz waiting. He's got a story he's going to tell us. And we just lost.
What happened?
I think his connection was starting to go a little bit. So I think that's what happened. But hey, look, if he can hear us, dude, let's save that for another show.
Let's just have him come in and talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here he is. He's back.
Yeah. Let's see here. Hello? Silva, can you hear us? Damn.
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
It reset. Anyways, I won't keep you guys. Thank you for having me on. I'm sorry of what happened. You know,
dude, we're all sorry, man. We're sorry as well, man. But dude, water under the bridge. Let's just move forward and let's get some more data, man. And let's hold each other to the fire.
But I would love to have Danny back to talk about that.
Absolutely.
To specifically talk about Elizondo, his thoughts, why he's so convicted. So I think that's important. It's an important conversation to have. So will you come back and share that with us, Danny?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you.
Awesome, brother.
Awesome.
All right, my man. Well, we'll see you soon. Thank you for, again, everything you do. And can't wait to see you for the big phone home.
Thanks, Soa.
All right. Thanks, guys. Peace.
Later, brother.
All right, let's bring in Jazz Shaw. We do not keep this man waiting. Jazz, we're so sorry.
Jazz, accept our apologies, please. We had to squash some beef. Uh-oh.
Yeah, it was terrible. I felt just awful. I mean, I was so insulted.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only Dolphin Emperor is here. Jazz! Jazz, I know you've been going through, a lot. You've had an awesome vacation, but right before your vacation, you had an experience that kind of shook you a little bit. Do you want to share that with us?
Oh, I will.
Is that where you want to start? Or do you want to?
Well, before we do that, there have been several people in the chat who have been a little uncharitable and on social media. So just for the people who have been saying Jazz Shaw is coming on with you guys and he's making all sorts of money off this, I'm just wondering between the two of you, between Michael and Luis, could you give me a ballpark of how many thousands of dollars you've paid me to participate in these programs? Because I'm sitting here on my yacht, obviously, that you largely paid for. Can you give us a ballpark? How much money have I made off of your two shows?
Well, I have a very specific answer to that question, but I also this is pretty funny. But like, who's saying that? Are people actually saying that? That's a real thing?
Yeah, that's going on Twitter. There was a couple comments in the chat. Yeah,
people think we're paying you.
Apparently, I'm getting rich off of this.
Yeah, nobody's getting rich over here.
So, how much have you guys paid me?
So we've paid you $0, but
Jared just put in $10, and Jared. So maybe we could give you this $10, Jazz.
Okay, here we go. I'm on the hook. I've made $10 if I get $10.
He said real quick, he said, it feels like private industry hijacked the subject post Roswell, and that's why our government knows nothing of value. See the January 9th, 1953 Pentacle memo found by Valet. Thank you for your work. Dude, thank you for the tip. That's a cool tip.
Jared.
Thank you so much, Jared. I appreciate it. But then,
okay,
by the way,
that $10 guys, just so everybody knows, I just want everybody to know, I do this on top of my regular day job and everything else. I don't get paid for this, and anybody who thinks that, stop thinking that.
Right,
I throw money at these guys as much as I can.
Well, I was going to say, not only
in what they're doing,
right, and I was going to say, not only do we not pay you?
You're in the hole. You're in the hole here,
right,
as far as I'm concerned.
Now, I will say that because we've appreciated and respected your time with us so much, we have sent you a gift. We did send you a gift in full transparency. We sent you some pretty cool booze. It was a one-time gift, and we sent you a note and told you how much we love you. But that's it. That's it.
That's all we've paid him. We've paid him in martinis. Is how we've paid Jazz.
Guess what? I am still cashing in on this shit.
There you go.
All right.
Good. I'm happy to see that. And if you ever need more, just let us know. Thank you so much for the 99
I wanted to
cent
get that out of the
super
way because it was coming up in my Twitter feed and in the
That's so
chat.
weird.
I just love the idea that people online think a channel with just over 3,000 viewers or subscribers is paying
somehow
people.
supporting my ass.
Like
Right.
I'm barely supporting myself.
Rick Carson says, I've lost count of the number of times Jazzsaw has paid $50 at a time.
I've lost count.
Yeah.
He easily puts in a couple of $100 a month to this show.
Or a week.
Yeah, sometimes in a week. I mean, it depends.
Ask my wife. It's a week. She comments on it. Yeah.
Well,
all right.
I mean,
but anyway, I put that behind us. I want to dispel any idea that I'm here as a paid propagandist. I'm here because I believe in what these guys are doing. And when they first launched the first Big Phone Home, it's like, I want to be part of this, and I don't have the biggest platform in the world. I'm not with the New York Times or anything, but I have a pretty good sized platform, and I was just trying to get everybody to call their congressman and do these things. And Michael and Luis, you guys run great shows. And we're getting a larger and larger audience. I should say you are getting a larger and larger audience. And, the conversation goes on, but it's not just about the usual crap. It's about ending UAP secrecy. It's about getting people to go beyond what's going on in their house and going and taking that message out to their friends, to their family, most importantly, to their elected representatives. You guys are doing great work, and I have no shame or hesitation to financially or in my own personal time, support what you're doing, because what you're doing is awesome.
Thanks, man.
We know that, man, and we feel. I've felt the love. Jazz Shaw was one of the first. I'm pretty sure you were the first official journalist to start retweeting and tagging my stuff and getting my name out there. And you were doing radio shows not behind my back, but just like radio shows that I had no idea you were doing and promoting it. And you would message me every once in a while. I was like, man, this is what an honor. Like, what, like, why is this guy like me or like this so much? And you just said it right there, man. And the Big Phone Home would not be where it's at without people like you, and you're a big part of that, man. So I
appreciate that, but there's a ton of other people who do that. A lot of people believe in what you guys are doing, and it's spreading and spreading. And I'll just keep pushing.
Yeah, well, the idea is to make sure that we get out of discussions like this and pick up some phones and send an email, send a tweet, and trust me, with the Big Phone Home website before this time next week will be 100% pretty much ready to go, where you can start emailing, texting, tweeting your local and state representatives like that. So it's coming, you guys. We're going to be doing this. We're asking for congressional hearings this time. That's what we're requesting, demanding, and not yelling, not getting mean about, just
just what the people deserve.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, because we're taxpayers and we deserve to see more information than what we've been seeing. That's just
exactly
fact. Okay, so with all of that said, Jazz, you had you've been telling us, you told us about this last week, I think on Mike's show, about this sighting you had, and that you got some pictures of it, and then you threw it out there today. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up. You threw it out there today, and somebody had broken down the video for you, and I thought they did a really good job. Can you tell us who that was real quick?
His name is Jeff. He's a videographer. He does a lot of work. Anybody can go look at. I'm at Jazz Shaw. You can find the links and find all of his information. I'm sorry I don't have it at the tip of my tongue.
That's okay.
But I had one sighting of a Tic Tac in June of this year, which I didn't put out on social media because I didn't get any data that I could share with anyone. Yesterday, I had another one, which was
did you say yesterday?
Yesterday, yes. If Luis is talking about the one that Jeff did, the one in June, I didn't get any video or anything, and I didn't really go public with it. I had a really clear daytime Tic Tac sighting, you know, but I had nothing to offer to anybody. But yesterday, another one came by.
That's insane, because you were telling us that you just saw another one, and this was like
Another one yesterday.
Right. So, but last week on the show, you saw one a few days before.
It wasn't a few days. No, that was the first Tic Tac I had was in June.
It was in June. Okay. Okay.
June.
My bad. Okay.
I will tell everybody as preface before we play any of this.
Yeah.
I'm somebody that's always been open to the extraterrestrial hypothesis about UFOs, UAP, whatever. I went more than 60 years without seeing anything. A couple of times you see a dim light or something. It might have been, maybe it's a UFO, maybe it's a flare, maybe it's a, whatever. In November of last year, my wife and I had 2 sightings, and she's been very patient with me for a very long time about my interest in this subject. And I filmed one, she filmed the other one. In a period of 1 week, last November, we had 2 sightings. They were both nighttime. The videos were not great. I put them on my YouTube channel. Maybe later you can stick them in the chat, or whatever. And then in June, not very long ago, I saw a Tic Tac. And I was sitting out on my back deck, and a Tic Tac. And I was watching 2 planes that came by, totally normal planes. We live about 35 miles from a regional airport that only has a few flights per day. But going the opposite direction of the planes, I saw a Tic Tac go by, and I reached into my pocket to grab my camera. My camera was about 15%, my phone, and it was recharging inside. And I was like, okay, I don't have that. And I crashed through my back screen door in our house and started screaming at my poor beleaguered wife, grab your phone, get out front. There's a Tic Tac. And I went in and ripped my phone off the charging cord. And I went out front and started filming, and I have 19 lovely minutes of absolutely nothing in the sky. Because I had watched the Tic Tac go by, and my wife said when she came out at first, she saw something for a moment, and it was gone. And we can get into this later, because I really would like to talk about the psychological impact that this has on people. But it was gone, and it was over, and I didn't do much on social media. Yesterday, it happened again. Exact same spot in the sky. This time, wow. I had my phone in my pocket. And I watched for about 6 seconds while it registered. Holy crap, it's back. And I started filming. The film that I took with a camera phone in a bright blue sky wasn't impressive. One videographer took the raw data from my phone file and really did a lot of work with it. And there was a bunch of crap going on there that matched up with my experience. And just going back a little bit to your previous guest, it's really, both of these sightings have changed things in our house, because it's really sort of a shifting experience. But if you guys want to look at the video, actually the recreation of the video from the guy who did this, go ahead and take a look. There's the 100% speed. There's, you don't see anything. Now, right there, if you look really closely, you can see a white dot.
Right in the middle.
It's tough. It's tough. The first, there it is right there. It's almost to the right of the letters. But he gets closer. He does do a better job again.
Now he goes, and if you watch and if you download this, you'll see a black dot and there are two
Oh.
unknown flybys. I didn't see those. I had no idea.
The black dot is right here.
Yeah.
And then you got.
But there's this other thing I never
is that?
saw.
Yeah.
The guy caught that. And then there was this. Hang on.
Whoa. And it just disappears.
It looks like it took off.
Well, here's the thing. He did the best he could, and he did a really good job.
Yeah, he did.
You know, in real life, much like the one that I saw in June, I could see it. It was oblong shape. It was tic-tac shape. It went across the sky. By the time in this event that I got the camera out and started filming, Jeffrey was the guy who was like, when you started filming, it stopped moving. And that's the tic-tac right there.
Wow.
Okay. It didn't have wings. It wasn't flying in an altitude or an attitude of anything. You know, it was just at this odd angle, and it didn't fly away. And I caught it on film. If you watch the whole thing, it didn't fly away. It disappeared.
Right.
And I watched it move across the sky, and then it stopped. And I was filming it, and then it just vanished. So for everybody that I've been going on for so many years with the people that are like, you know, the idea of possible extraterrestrial intelligence is totally believable to me. And there's people that watch these grainy Navy films, and I'm like, yeah, I could believe that. Let's discuss that. I want to tell you guys and your entire audience, things in our house have been different since June and yesterday. Because it's a different experience to discuss it hypothetically. And then you watch that. You watch that happen twice. My entire position has changed, and that could affect the discussion with your last guest. Because up until now, I was always like, you know, well, yeah, it's certainly possible. And wouldn't that be interesting? Wouldn't that be fascinating? We'd all like to know about that. But it was always hypothetical.
Right.
And I already told you, I
So
give you a link later. Give me a second.
Yeah.
We had our sightings last November. My wife and I both had 2 sightings that appeared to 1 week in November, but they were nighttime sightings, and we did it with, you know, cell phone video. And it's like, yeah, that's really weird. The second one was definitely a triangle with some weird lights that went right over our house, but still it was dark. You couldn't see anything. These 2 in June and yesterday, bright blue sky, middle of the day, no question whatsoever. It was something, for lack of a better word, that looked like a tic-tac. Okay. I've seen it twice, and it's really changed my attitude on the world. And now I'm sitting there going, oh, I see what everybody else is saying. Because that wasn't, nothing should do that.
Right.
That's not reasonable. That's not something you can do. And I had a camera yesterday focused. When you go back and watch the video that Michael already played, I had a camera focused on that son of a bitch for 3 to 4 seconds, and it disappeared. It didn't fly away. It wasn't a bird. It was on camera. He got a reverse image. It was very solid. It was an oval. And in a matter of 3 frames, it disappeared. It didn't fly away. It disappeared. So that's why I'm here with you guys tonight, because really my entire attitude has changed a lot in terms of experiencers and things, because I was always the journalist that was like, yeah, this could certainly be possible. Wouldn't that be interesting? Yesterday, that all changed.
Can I ask you a question, Jess?
Sure.
Like I can feel this, like it's you've been moved, you've been touched. Like I can feel it through the screen. Let me ask you, we had Ian Doley on a few weeks ago. We just had Jay from Project Unity.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel, because a lot of what these guys talk about is these things interacting with us consciously. Has your position changed on that, or do you still kind of feel like this is a extraordinary phenomena? It's moved you, but you don't think it's connected to you, or does that question make sense? Like, do you think there's an interaction going on between you and the
question not only makes sense, but now I'm worried that people are going to think you were prepping me with these questions, which you did not.
Did not, no.
Our household, and I am going to answer your question, our household has gone through some rough periods since June, since the first Tic Tac. We probably don't have time to cover the events of the first sighting, but when it happened, I saw the Tic Tac considerably lower and closer than the one that I saw yesterday. It was a much better sighting. But when I reached for my pocket, my phone was inside in the den because it was at like 15% and I was charging it. I broke the back door of my house open, crashing through it when it registered that I was seeing the Tic Tac. And I was screaming into the house at my wife, grab your phone, go out front. My wife later came back and told me she thought the house was on fire. I was crashing through the house and I grabbed the phone and ripped it off. By the time we got out there, she looked up and she told me later she saw something for a moment, but it was gone. And I have 19 minutes of film of an empty sky. And I became angry. Not at her, not at anything else. I was upset because I finally had my moment and the Tic Tac was gone. And I turned into, and we had this conversation while she was the one who brought it up, and she was absolutely correct, that I had gone into Richard Dreyfuss mode from Close Encounters, like building the tower of mashed potatoes and things, because I was like, how could I possibly see this and not have any evidence? And my wife thought she saw briefly a white blip, and we went through that for quite a while, but it went downhill from there. And that's what I want to talk to. There's a big effect on people for having this type of experience, because then I was angry. I was like, why didn't you stick around? Why didn't I get it on camera? Why did this happen? And I went into Richard Dreyfuss mode, and I was out there. I was on the web and on the website for the local airport, because I was thinking like, oh, I was watching two planes that went overhead before the Tic Tac showed up. Maybe it's related. So let's go out every day when the planes go by and check this. And there were no more Tic Tacs, and my wife is totally generous and wonderful. And she's like, well, that's great, dear, but you go watch. Let me know if you see the Tic Tac, and there was nothing,
Yeah.
So we went through those stages. And then yesterday was the crazy breaking point. And now I'm sitting here going, what do I do with this information?
Right.
Because we have all, and I really want to get this out, and I thank you guys for the time. We've all been the people who are like, we want data. We want data about UAP. We want to have data. We want to find out things. And we've watched the Navy videos, and they're kind of grainy and all that stuff, and there's a lot of testimony from other people, and you're like, well, that guy sounds credible. But in the back of your mind, you're always thinking, well, it could have been something else,
Right.
It could have been. When you watch a Tic Tac in a clear blue sky, totally unambiguous. No wings, no exhaust, drifting across the sky at a solid speed, and then it disappears. All I want to say to you guys is my worldview has changed because there's no explanation for this for me.
A question that keeps coming up in the chat, and thank you, Gerald, for the $5 super chat. He says, "Whoa, this has been an intense show, and it has been.
It has been.
I'm exhausted, dude. We still got 20 minutes. What does it say? People keep asking, how big was this Tic Tac roughly? It's a question that people. It's been asked quite a bit. Do you have a
the one yesterday was further away and a little higher up, so I couldn't really say. The one in June, I had a good comparison because there were 2 commercial jet flights that were going east to west over our house, and the Tic Tac was below it. It was definitely lower. It was clearer. There were a few fluffy clouds in the sky, and the jets disappeared behind the clouds. The Tic Tac went in front of the clouds. It was definitely lower. It was moving slower than them, but size-wise, it was definitely smaller than the jets. It was not as big as the 737s that typically fly out of our regional airport. Yeah. I've told a couple other people, if I had to make a ballpark estimate, it was below 10,000 feet. And it was probably about the size of a bus, 40, 50 feet, something like that. Okay. But just pure white, very cylindrical, no wings, no nothing. And I didn't have my phone in my pocket, and I still want to smash my head with my phone for not having it right then.
You should take it easy on yourself about that, man. That's how man, it's gonna happen. These things are rare.
I need to know the answer.
I know, but even if you got the best video in the world, you still wouldn't have an answer to it.
Well, the video we got yesterday isn't bad.
No, it's not bad at all.
The guy that did it for us, you can see the general shape at the end. He got the good freeze frame. It was definitely, it was a Tic Tac, but what he didn't capture right after that last moment that he got when he cleaned it up, it didn't fly away. It didn't shoot up into the sky. It disappeared.
Yeah.
I was sitting there, and you don't get to see when it moved in because I was watching it move in, and it was just an oblong, and it moved in. By the time I got the camera up, it stopped. It just froze in the sky. And the guy that helped me, it's like it just froze in the sky.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
And I got 3 or 4 seconds. It didn't fly away. It just disappeared. What the hell does that? So I'm just saying for you guys and all the listeners, between June starting and yesterday, my entire attitude about this has changed. I've seen things that I'm not relying on other people's testimony.
So how is it? What
happened?
Yeah. So can you so I guess my original question was, do you think there's some relationship between the Tic Tac type UFOs and conscious awareness of human beings? Like, based on your experience, has that shifted for you at all, or you still think it's something separate, but you now have a very real experience that you can lean on?
I started writing a long essay that I was going to publish for the debrief, and I stopped. And my wife and I had been discussing it. She just walked outside right now because she gets tired of hearing me talk about it. But no, she's totally on board. That's a hard question.
And it's not one you have to answer. I'm just curious.
No, I do want to answer because it's something we've been struggling with.
Right.
I have to wonder, not so much with the June sighting, but with yesterday's. I watched it moving. It was definitely moving west to east. And by the time I got the camera up, then it froze.
Right.
And then you're left laying in bed at night.
Right.
Saying, wow, you started filming it and it stopped when it was moving. Is that because you were watching?
Right.
Was it because of you? And then the other half of your brain goes,
Yes.
really? Are
Yeah.
you that much of an
Special.
egotist?
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
that
Exactly.
special? Or was it just accidentally you caught it and it was done with whatever it was doing and then it left? But still, dude, you were sitting there in midair and a videographer showed it was definitely a solid object. It was moving, it stopped, it was hanging there. 3 frames later, which is what, a 16th of a second,
Yeah, not even.
and in one it faded out and the second one it was gone. And it was like, that's just because I was watching. Wow, I must be Christ. Wow, holy crap, it must be just because it's me. Or was it just because I was there and I was watching and it was like, oh, we don't want this asshole watching, and it just left, whatever. But no, I mean, that's like I said, I started an article. I'm probably going to still publish it eventually. It's a crippling thing because up until June, I was one of those people, like I think both of you, who are like, I'm following the data. I think the data says there's a very good possibility that this could be extraterrestrial, could be dolphins, my favorite thing, could be anything. We don't know, but it's something weird.
Yeah.
But when you go and you actually see the Tic Tac going across the sky silently, I'm going to tell you and all of your listeners, that's a game changer. Because at that moment, all the stuff about, well, hypothetically, there could be other civilizations, and suddenly you're looking at this and you're going, nothing should be able to do that. That's bullshit. What the hell is this? And that's what we've been dealing with just recently. And it has been in our house. I'm going to tell you, it's an emotional and
it sounds like
it's not an intellectual thing. It's an emotional thing.
Right.
Yeah. There's a couple of things that people wanted to say to you with some super chats. The first is from Swink McCloud, and Swink says, "Welcome to the Experiencer Club. Has been decades since mine. I still have no answers. Never seen anything after my first one. Don't really want to either." Do you want to see, real quickly, Jazz? Do you want to see another one? Because I want to get to these other questions real quick.
I want to see a bunch more. And my wife's always in the chat for these things frequently. You guys talk to her. She'll tell you, I have annoyed the hell out of her, and I'm still doing it. And I have 2 spots on our property where I go out and I'm no longer ever looking at my phone. I'm just watching the sky. Yes, I want to see it again. I want to get more data because I worry. I don't think I'm crazy. I think this was very real. So yes, to answer your question, I want to see it again, and I want to see it better.
Yeah. Real quick, Linda Thompson with a $9.99 super sticker.
Linda.
Thank you so much, Linda. Very sweet and kind of you. And then we had Anonymous Rex for $4.99. Says, Jazz, you were chosen to have these convincing experiences because you have a world platform and the right mental attitude.
That's what my wife said. And George came and talked to me last night, and she said, and I was sitting there going, is it crazy to think they wanted me to see it disappear? And she said, you've got tens of thousands of social media followers. You're on radio stations. Maybe they wanted you to see this. And for a moment, I'll confess, that was a tempting bit of bait. It's like, oh, maybe I'm important. I think in terms of extraterrestrial life in the universe, I'm like the least important person ever. But who knows? I mean, she seems convinced. It's like maybe they're just selectively picking people who can bring the message out and go like, oh, by the way, we're hanging around. We like to chat, So I can't rule it out entirely, but I have a very hard time thinking that I'm important enough that it's like, oh, we should definitely get Jazz. We don't need Jake Tapper. We don't need anybody from Fox or CBS. Let's get Chaz. No, I think that's bullshit. But I don't know.
Well, would Jake Tapper share this? Would Jake Tapper go out there and talk about it?
I don't think
Probably
he would.
not.
I don't
Probably
think he
not.
would.
Actually,
you think?
Okay. Because of proprietary things, I have to stop talking now.
Okay. All right.
But no, I do think, it's possible that, is it conceivable they would just be like, well, let's find people that are open to the idea, and we'll go and we'll do some things.
Well, and
but
conceivably again, that's potentially a link to consciousness, right? And a link to their ability. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes me think, with my experience when I was 13 years old, it was up close. It was real close. And
yeah, I've heard yours. I've never had one like yours.
I'm curious if that was sort of the seed they planted, 28 years ago now.
Hey, man, maybe this was all a journey that was plotted for you and me and Michael, that we were all going to come together now when they're about to go, land in the middle of a state park and go, oh, by the way, here you go.
Something fascinating's going on, man. And it's this thing where it's so hard to put your finger on it. And it's really like, I don't know how you're feeling internally, Jazz, but it's really cool to see how moved you are, because that's, it almost brings a little tear to my eye, because it's so emotional and it's so powerful.
Been very emotional. And I mean, we went through a lot of stuff after the June sighting. I mean, I started to point that out before, but I really did go into Richard Dreyfuss territory. My wife did not get to see the June sighting. She ran out front. She didn't have her phone ready. She told me, I looked up when you yelled for me to look up. She saw something for a fraction of a second that could have been, a cloud or something, after I had watched a pristine Tic Tac running across before I smashed through the house, But yeah, I mean, I do have to wonder if there isn't some larger motivation behind that. I
or
don't
even
know.
Something eerier than extraterrestrials, something more profound and spiritual. We don't know. I mean, that's the thing. It's so none of us really know, but it's, to see how moved you are, just it just kind of hits home for me. Like, like we were talking after watching Mirage Man, I came out and I'm just like throwing my hands up in the air, of all the government deception and just this chaos of disinformation. And then, to hear your story kind of, plugs me back in emotionally to this whole phenomenon. So it's wild, man. It's wild.
Yeah. I mean, up until June, I mean, this was all hypothetical for me, and I was totally open to a lot of interesting ideas, and I thought they were totally plausible. After these two incidents, I'm sorry, now I'm an experiencer.
Yeah. Hey, man. Well, yeah. Welcome to the club. And it's unfortunately, I hate to break this to you, and I know you're not probably gonna like this, but we can't take it to Congress. We can't.
But he wants more.
Congress. I know he wants more. Yeah. Not yet. Not yet. I'll concede that. Not yet. I like that attitude.
I do too.
So real quick, just because I wanted to touch on this, and I wanted people to just be aware of this. This Scientific American article that just came out.
Give me a minute.
Yeah, take your time. That was let's see here. Where is it? There we go. That was published in the article that was published in the Scientific American by Caleb Scharf, and it's called "Oh UFOs, Where Art Thou? 5 Reasons Why Sorting All of This Out is So Scientifically Challenging." And it's a really cool little, not a crazy deep dive, but it's asked some very fun questions, and I'll go over the challenges here real quick, and maybe we could briefly talk about them because I thought they were cool. So challenge number 1, all UFO/UAP incidents are non-repeatable. We can't go back and perform the experiment of that exact observation again.
Unless you're willing to look into the consciousness aspect of this.
Yeah, that's true too.
Which I don't think
I
science.
don't
I don't think
know.
the
Yeah, I
scientists
don't
are
think
ready
they
for that
are.
one.
Yeah, I think
They should though. There should
should
be
be.
no hypothesis off the table.
I agree. And I also, man, maybe we can ask the Galileo guys that the next time we're on, because that might be a way, as fringe as it sounds. But then again, we're dealing with a fringe topic, so why is it not okay to think outside of this box and pull from the fringe a little bit?
And if anybody be open enough, minded enough to hear it, is Avi.
Avi, for sure. So next time we have him on, that would be fun. So the second challenge that Caleb wrote was there's nothing systematic in how incidents are recorded or reported. Different camera systems, radar systems, data processing, observers, and environmental circumstances mean that each incident is, in effect, an uncontrolled experiment with few ways to ascertain the real quality and sensitivity of the data. So, I mean, now you can maybe kind of understand why science is like, oh, I don't want to deal with this, because it's hard. It's a hard thing to scientifically study and look at. I mean, these are just the first two challenges,
And they're huge.
And they're huge. They're huge, man. Challenge number 3. There's no easy way to account for the cherry picking of data. We don't know how often pilots or other observers see something unexpected, but then a minute later figure out what they're witnessing, or at least convince themselves that they've done so, and consequentially don't support anything. There could be thousands of such incidents or very few. We don't know. And those numbers and those mundane cases could actually represent all cases, which is almost it's almost kind of like a little bit like Jazz's experience, but it's a professional looking at it and they don't say nothing because it's not convincing of them enough, so they convince themselves, don't worry about it.
Right. And slash stigma, or is that the next one?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the next. I think it's the next one. Challenge number 4. If any incidents or observations are genuinely associated with something tangible and physical, we don't know whether we're looking at a single underlying phenomenon or many. It's a bit like going into a zoo blindfolded and trying to understand what you're hearing and smelling. If there's only one species, you might figure it out. But if there are 100 species, then decoding your experience is going to be very difficult. I like that one a lot. Like, that's a really great analogy in the sort of understanding, the difficultiness of looking at this. Because I mean, that's blindfolded into a zoo and then trying to figure out what's in the zoo. Like, good luck, dude. Good luck. And then we got challenge number 5. The popular association of UAP with hypothesis involving alien technology creates a severe analysis bias. Usually, science tries to move stepwise towards finding support for a given hypothesis or for eliminating hypotheses and weighing these options as evenly as possible. But in this case, a hypothesis that would require extraordinary, robust evidence in order to be supported, as with Carl Sagan's famous dictum, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Regardless of what some people say, hangs heavily over any analysis or discussion, and there is a vocal community who feel that the answer is already known, and that's a problem.
I don't see how that's a problem for science. Like, science can ignore a group of people who believe something. It always does. Science is constantly ignoring people who believe things, which is fine. That's good. That's what science is supposed to do. So why is that a problem? I don't quite understand why.
I think it's just because of the stigma of it. Like it comes, unlike some other things,
baggage.
This comes with baggage, and I think that's basically what this is saying. Is like, this is a lot of baggage that people already have a conclusion for.
I'm going to slightly disagree with that part.
Go for it. What do you got?
Because there is a selection bias that goes on when you're collecting data.
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually pointed out in the June preliminary report.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking at, well, we want to see how many incidents of data we should analyze.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if it's only military people supplying the data, then you're going to say, oh, well, we've got all these incidents and they're happening over military bases
Right.
or over fleets and things like that. And it does look to a lot of people who've analyzed that report like there was a lot of selection bias in that because, well, we're analyzing data that was reported by military pilots or, people at bases and nuclear bases. And if you look at the sum total of all of the UAP reports, well, a lot of that, well, almost none of that made it into the congressional report. So it could be a global phenomenon, but we're seeing a bias saying, well, they're just mostly showing up around military sites. Well, that's because mostly military people are the ones doing the reports you're looking at. Am I crazy?
No, that's
no,
fair.
no. That's totally fair. Collection bias is a huge issue. I just want to let folks know that Danny Silva is going to be going live on Twitter after this. And then he also invited Jack Hetfield, who's been quite critical of Danny here. So if you guys want to go beef it out over there, feel free.
Sweet. That sounds like entertainment.
Yeah,
and also
got to
John,
grab some dinner though.
Well, yeah, I'm there with you. I guess we should. We're at 6. We're at 3. Well, we're at 5 o'clock for Jazz. We're at 3 o'clock for us. So we've hit the end of the show. So let's go ahead because I know Artemis has been.
Well, I also have. Do you want me to share? Do you want me to share that video of John Greenwald before we go?
Yeah. You know what? Let's play it out. Let's play it at the last part of the show. We'll let it play and then we'll end the show.
Cool.
How about that?
Yeah,
okay, so real quick, let's let Artemis, if you're ready to read the poll results. We had a poll that went out, which was I thought a pretty funny poll. I'm sure she'll be here in a second.
By the way, Artemis, yeah. I'm following you on Twitter now. I got yelled at earlier. So.
Oh, okay. All right.
Who is that?
Artemis yelled at me because apparently I swore I thought I followed her. And she was like, "Why are you not following me?" And I was like, I'm sorry.
I do that sometimes too. I'll think I'm following somebody and not, and they're like, they're like silently, passive aggressively pissed about it. I'm like, I didn't know.
I swore I thought I had already followed Artemis, and she was like, "No, you didn't." I was like, "Oh, my bad. I'm an old senile person. I'm sorry, Artemis, but I'm following you now."
Yes, you're following me now.
All right. No, we can hear you. It's hello.
We can hear you. Check. Say hello. Oh no, nothing. There you go.
Yeah, there you
hello.
go. All right, cool. All right, Artemis.
Bye,
so
guys.
what was the poll for today?
All right, the poll today was: which do you prefer, Project Unity, Project Blue Book, Project Mogul, or I prefer reading report? Sorry,
yeah, I'm more of a report kind of person.
I'm more of a report kind of guy. And 47% said Project Unity, 19% said Project Blue Book, only 5% said Project Mogul, and 30% said I'm more of a report kind of person. So
there you go.
I was more of a report kind of person. Yes.
All right, Jazz was more of a report kind of person. Yeah, I can understand why people hate Project Mogul because that's basically debunking Roswell. But I'm happy to see that Jay won out the poll. That's fun. Excellent. So most of our audience prefers Project Unity, which I am so with. All right, well, you guys, we've reached the end of the show. It was a fun one. It was intense. We mended bridges. We fixed some things, which is always a good thing. Always a good thing. This is a great way to go into the weekend. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
and thank you to everybody for allowing me to share my experience because it's really been a rough month. I don't think people really understand. I mean, when you run into something totally unexpected that shakes your worldview, it can be a moment of expansion or questioning what you're doing. Yeah. And that's what I found. Sure. So I hope that helps somebody else.
I think it did, Jazz, and we appreciate it. And we had a $5 donation from Kooky Nick. Poll results. Great show, you guys. Thank you so
Hey,
much.
Kooky Nick.
There you go, Kooky Nick. You got your Artemis shout out. I think that's what he was looking for there.
Yeah, that's what he was looking for,
all
I
right.
think.
I hope you enjoyed that, sir. So, Jazz, we'll see you hopefully next week. I'm not sure what's going on next week. I don't have my schedule in front of me, but it's always a pleasure having you here, sir, and we'll catch you later.
Thanks, Jazz. Appreciate you sharing, bro.
Thank you. Artemis Prime, my lady, thank you so much for all the help today in the chat section. Thank you also to Tina Tamazuski. Both of these ladies are our moderators.
Super
and they
Tina.
do a really, really
That's what
great
I call
job.
her.
Super Tina is the exact phrase.
I
for
call her Super Tina. That's what I love.
Super Tina and Artemis Prime back to back.
Killer team.
Pew, 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 pew. All right, my lady. We'll see you soon. Have a great weekend.
Okay. Yeah. You too. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, Artemis.
All right, Michael.
Hell of a show. Hell of a show,
man. Damn.
Wow.
I'm sweating, bro.
Yeah. So for those of you who are sad that the show is ending, don't be sad because John Greenwald has a pretty cool episode coming on, and I think he's going to release it in like an hour or so. Lou and I had the opportunity to go chat with him, and that's going to be going live here or not live, but it's premiering here in a few minutes. And we're going to share the promo for you on the way out.
Yeah. I'm copying and pasting it right now. Michael, do you want to say thank you to the guests that were here on the show? Just the delay here for a second while I set this up.
I've got it ready to go.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. You ready?
Perfect. No, I don't. Hold on, wait. There's a couple other things I want to do before we go.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay. Want to say thank you to the sponsor, BlueMountainChronicles.com, providers of the world's finest fishing tackle since 1995. Want to say thank you to DOS Tapes. They provide all of the tunes you hear on the show. Their Bandcamp link is in the description below. Of course, you guys, we are a public access channel. If you want to support the show in a financial way, we've got a Patreon. We've got the Super Chats. You guys are amazing. We've got a merch store, so check that out. All of the links are in our link tree right below this video. So if you want to do that, awesome. We bless you. Thank you so much. It goes a very long way to making sure that we're here 5 days a week between Singularity Lab and the Unidentified Celebrity Review. We've got the big phone home coming up. Man, I cannot even tell you. I haven't even told Michael yet some of the guests that we are in kind of technically discussions with. Stay tuned, you guys. It's going to be sick. So, yeah, on that note, Michael, go ahead and play it, baby.
April 24th, 2021.
Here we go. Are you ready to make a change, Mataluni?
Let's do this, Luis. I'm so excited for today.
You ready to get some people hyped, Mataluni?
Get them hyped.
An event known as the Big Phone Home.
We look a little different.
Kickoff filled with passion, fun, determination, and a mission to demand more transparency from the U.S. government and encourage scientific study of the UFO issue.
So today, you guys, is all about activism, all about getting the word out on the UAP transparency train.
People from all over the world took part, and thousands tuned in to see what it was all about.
That's really wonderful to hear.
Now it's about to happen again, but this time it's much bigger and has a much more concentrated effort to bring people together and yet again ask the U.S. government for transparency when it comes to unidentified aerial phenomena. Joining me today, Luis Jimenez, the brainchild of the Big Phone Home and host of the Unidentified Celebrity Review. Joining as well is Michael Mataluni, the host of the Singularity Lab. A digital marketer by trade, he saw Luis's vision and immediately jumped in to join forces and bring the entire project to a new level. So stay tuned, because you're about to explore the Big Phone Home 2 as we journey inside the Black Vault.